Oh, backup server worked like a charm. That should be up and running. Look at that. Their primary server is F-bomb, but their backup server evidently is running well. There it is.
Sweet.
So I'm going to tweet that out.
I'm trying to figure out whether I think I can mute YouTube without muting my computer. Should be able to.
All right.
You should be able to mute Chrome if need be. Or whatever your browser is.
Yeah. Well, I'm still waiting for the notification to come in to say, hey, we're live. Oh, there it is.
Booyah.
We are live on YouTube.
That's right. We're there.
Excellent.
We got
excellent
Beast. We got Roger, Chrissy Gal. Folks, you ain't got nothing better to do.
I love how quickly people pop up into that. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. Love seeing everybody. Hopefully. And Sarah and Barry, what's up?
Did you put up just the background picture of Bristol?
No. I've got the
okay,
the whole
so
thing.
I don't have. Okay, here we go. Right here. Boom. All right, let me make sure that I can do this without making a mess of the audio. My computer's not very happy with this right now.
And it's a brand new computer.
I know. I still have to take it in and replace it because the B and the N and the spacebar don't work. Not regularly.
Pivotal buttons.
I know. Can't call anybody a bitch without the B.
Technology.
That's funny.
Yeah, so it's weird. All I have is the backdrop of Bristol, but that's okay. It doesn't matter because I can switch over to Skype to see everybody. But
I'm going to play this song. Tell me if you can hear me or this while it's going on. Can you hear anything? Anything right now?
I got nothing.
Did you hear
Got
me?
Nothing.
Did you hear me?
Oh, yeah. You just broke up and then nothing else played.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there we go. That explains that. So for the intro, I'm just going to have to do the whole thing myself, and then I'll bring y'all on. Sherwin, I'll bring you on first, and we can kind of co-host deal stuff, and then Skype didn't let me, like, rearrange people, so that's why, Sherwin, you're, like, bottom right in the in the video deal on YouTube.
So I got shit canned.
Right. You're definitely DFL on the on the ordeal.
So I'm the Martin Truex of this podcast.
Starting from the rear.
Ouch. Oh man. Well, boys,
did I send you that text, Rusty, or did you see what I put on Twitter? Before we get started, so these guys will have a preface for it. I said on Twitter, and I don't know that I don't think I texted Rusty this today. I think instead of throwing somebody off the team and letting them go sit in the stands and just WhatsApp with everybody, during the race, like the car chief or whoever, just take a set of tires from them. I think that's a better punishment.
I think once you start making it hurt, I did see that. Let's talk about it on the show.
I love it.
Gentlemen, obviously, because we did our test, I'm going to disappear for probably the next 90 seconds or so. I'm going to do intros, then I'll bring Sherwin in, then I'll bring, Cone and Brandon. So,
sounds good.
Are we ready to podcast?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, here we go. Like I said, I'll disappear. We'll see y'all in a moment. Recording now. Hey, welcome y'all! This is a Pregame Engineer Tug Air Racing Podcast. episode number 235. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace. I'm in the PTM Podcast Studio, quarantined, all by myself. We'll be bringing on everybody that you know and love here very shortly. But before then, y'all know what the deal is. This podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. Go to patreon.com/PTM. Join the Watch Drink Club for as little as $1 a month. Get that free koozie. Best part is, every cent this year, we're once again donating to sponsoring drivers. So join the PTM Pies today. Be a part of the sport you love. This week's show brought to you by our official sponsors at that $5 and up per month level. Here we go. Aaron Bearden, Robert Kemlinger, Coleman McClain, Eric Kemner, Ryan Kiefer, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown, Brandon Carl, Kathleen McDonald, Stacey Wright, Brandon Carl, Ricky Porter, John Von Les Miller, Julie Bosley, John Pearson, Eddie Greer III, Younger Motorsports, David Mellis, Patrick Johnson, Brett Morris, Chris Smoke, Fred Rosado, Chad Nappin, Stacey Coleman, Matthew Camper, Lisa Chanana, Rick Houston, Sarah Anbari, Evan Roller, and Brad Harrison. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And it's time for me to bring on our special guest lineup tonight, quarantined. All in different places. I'm here in the PTM Podcast Studio all alone, but sitting just a few miles from me, pregame engineer Andrew Sherwin, my partner in crime, co-host. What's up, dude?
Yeah, it's been a hot minute since we did one of these things remote style.
No kidding. Yeah, we're and your audio, by the way, sounds fantastic. So at least we sound like we can convince people we're in the same room. But I ain't fixing to lick the doorknobs and whatnot.
Right. Well, I think we're gonna. That's a. What do you call that? Not a preview, but a. What's the word?
Foreshadowing or something.
Foreshadowing of segments to come.
Well, I'm
sure that the cone will love this.
My friend, happy St. Patty's Day. Regardless of whether or not we are quarantined and whatnot, we'll get to the what you drinking segment in a moment. Before we do, we want to bring on the rest of this zany lineup today, our Midwest friends, if you will. We'll start with everyone's favorite inanimate object. It's the orange cone. What's up, Cone?
Hey, what's happening?
Well,
COVID-free. COVID-free, 47 straight years. All right.
I sat in this chair for 9 hours today working, and I'm going to sit in it for another hour sitting here doing this thing as long as it takes. And finally, host of the Lap Traffic Podcast, bored to tears, stuck in his house. So why not do a little podcasting? And I think he's doing some multitasking with some Madden or something. It's Brandon from Lap Traffic. Brandon, what's up, dude?
What's up, boys? Yes, I am multitasking with a game of Madden. And you mentioned licking doorknobs. At least you're not like the Instagram person that was licking toilet seats on an airplane. So you're ahead of the game.
Hey, quit burying the lead. Quit burying the lead.
Sorry.
Should I not do that? Is that not good? Should I not? Should I stop?
Put that on hold for a moment. Gentlemen, happy St. Patrick's Day. Cheers to you. We're going to do what you're drinking. Sherwin, I have not yet in 2020. We're in March now, mid-March, and I have not yet had a proper drink on the PTM podcast. But you know what? It's St. Patrick's Day. It's time to do that. So you can probably tell by how excited I am and everything that I'm about 3 or 4 Guinnesses deep. But I'm starting the show with with our classic. I've got the old Beam and Coke. I went to the store and bought me enough to last for a while. So got that going on. What you drinking, Sherwin?
I have some Irish cream with a little bit of green mint, so it kind of looks green, but I've got it in a glass that has green lettering on it. Jekyll Brewing Company glass that Taco Mac graciously gave me for the $10,000 that I've spent buying beer there.
And all I got was this stupid-ass glass. But it makes it taste better, doesn't it?
I always liked the mint version of Bailey's the best, so I figured I'd just buy the regular, knowing that I already had the green creme de mint that would change the color of it, because when you buy the mint version of Bailey's, it already has the mint in it with no coloring.
Right. That's just efficiency right there.
Yeah. Mr.
Cone, what you got tonight?
Oh, I am really going hard with the lukewarm Diet Coke.
The lukewarm Diet Coke.
Lukewarm Diet Coke.
You don't have to hoard ice in these times. Your freezer will probably make it for you.
I don't want to risk the COVID sitch, so I'm just going to go ice free. The fewer things I touch, the better off I'm going to be.
Right, sir. And finally, with Brandon, what do you got tonight with the Madden and with the PTM podcast?
I have a semi-still green sugar-free vodka Red Bull. The wife put a little drop of food coloring in there, and yeah, so that's what we got going on tonight.
Now, can
the
you
usual?
show?
And I'll tell you what, when this is gone, apparently White Claw has come out with a new set of flavors, and I am a fan of the lemon. It tastes like a can of Sprite. And so I might have to crack one of those a little later.
Not a bad idea. Do y'all think that I'm trying to think of industries that are working in overtime right now. It feels like the toilet paper industry is probably in there. The liquor industry, I think, has to be going crazy. Cover your children's ears here. Like the condom industry, there's got to be a few.
There are going to be some babies born.
There will be some babies born.
Can we expect a mini crowd coming in 9 months here, Brandon?
Look, you guys.
Listen,
we cannot expect. Yeah, we can't keep people to stay 6 feet away from each other in this time. You think we're going to tell people be safe so you don't create a population boom 9 months from now? Yeah, that's not happening.
So here's what I thought about that is. If you manage to not get pregnant to this point, why would you all of a sudden forget how to use various and sundry contraceptives just during this period of time?
Well, we already talked about how the liquor industry is in overdrive, Sherwin. So, that could be a catalyst to forgetting. Oh man!
Right, being stuck in solitary confinement with a very small number of people often leads to a massive amount of bad decisions.
No kidding.
Yeah, some of them good, some of them bad.
Yeah,
gentlemen,
most of them bad.
We'll see how many babies are named Corona. 9. Hey, there you go. All right, there's a bad decision right there.
I think somebody just gave up a touchdown.
he just
we are live here. Person in the background, knock it off.
Sorry about that.
Hey, guy, this is not a rated R podcast.
Right.
Yeah, we only get one of those.
Do I get to say that just randomly? Can I do it?
It's 2 F-bombs per show. That's it.
Well, the FCC gives you 1 per hour to maintain your PG-13 status. We just burned it up. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. I have what's saved up.
Well, gentlemen, cheers on St. Patrick's Day. It's great to
cheers.
It's great to actually be around some people when you're at home by yourself all day. Or I mean, my wife is here, but hanging out with
by yourself,
folks, being able to talk some NASCAR. Well, we might get to NASCAR. Who knows? We've certainly got quarantine going on. But what are y'all doing St. Patty's Day? Sherwin, any special meals or anything?
No, I didn't do anything special. I should have, but I didn't. Just regular old food that was in the fridge. I hadn't been to Kroger yet. I talked about wanting to go down there just to see how crazy it is down there. They had announced that the whole Atlanta footprint, which they consider to be Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina, they were going to hire shelf stalkers and not even care about how many hours you work, just to make sure that they could keep food on the shelves for folks, and whatever, ass paper and that other stuff.
Yeah.
But, I hadn't really been out that much, to be honest with you.
I went out to the grocery store, and it was like snowpocalypse kind of deal where all the bread was gone, all the milk was gone, and strangely, different from that, all the toilet paper, and they had the signs up too, like, hey, we'll get a stock in on Wednesday or something like that. It was kind of wild. Cone, how much TP do you have in the house?
So I live by myself now, so I only have to buy this item, once every 4 to 5 months maybe. So I'm stocked up. I'm good. I've got 17 rolls here. If my girlfriend comes this weekend as planned, she'll probably go through a couple of rolls. Yeah, I don't know what her situation is, but got some sort of intestinal problem. But she's going to kill me when she hears this. But no.
This will be proof positive if she listens.
Right. I'm just testing.
True.
Listens. But yeah, no, we're all set here. I actually thought it was funny. Someone called it Charmanocalypse the other day, and I thought that was very fitting.
Brandon,
Yeah,
how you doing? Are
about
you
right.
going to be using old socks and underwear soon, or is it all good in the Crowd household?
Things are good. Lindsay went to Costco Thursday, which was a madhouse. She was texting pictures and all that. The line was massive. And then I took her to Kroger, which is your normal, Meijer, your normal grocery store, so to speak. And I mean, the lines were wrapped around, but I tell you, people were like nice, friendly. Everyone was kind of just like taking it in, Everybody knew it wasn't anyone else's fault, and people had a good spirit about themselves on at least early in the weekend. I hope that's still the case. I got a little creative with finding things like the toilet paper, the hand sanitizer, dollar stores, Home Depots, places outside of your normal grocery store. They were pretty well stocked around here. I'm sure that may not be the case now, but things were still somewhat all right. But yeah, I mean, stores are empty, but my deep chest is full, so I'm good.
I've got one of these 2.5 ounce bottle things of hand sanitizer, and then I've got another one in my bag. And then from then on, I don't know. I guess I got to watch out. We'll see. No, we got lucky. We were on the toilet paper schedule, if you will, like this past Thursday, and the old lady went to Sam's Club and stocked us up. So we're good there. I think I've got enough food for 6 months or something. I don't know. Every time me and the wife have met up at home after work the last few days, minus today because we're working from home. Yeah, it was. We'd both gone to the grocery store and bought them out. Not bought them out, but just bought a few things of meat and a few other things. Next thing you know, we're trying to stack the freezer, and it's a Jenga problem at this point. Trying to get all that in. So, yeah, I mean,
the freezer's stacked, and we had a little housewarming party for the new house on Saturday, and the liquor cabinet is well stocked, probably for a few months. So we're good.
How crazy was it for y'all? I know we all have different working situations, but I'll tell you what. On Thursday at my work, they said, if you have and this came from HR, and we have a really good HR, and they sent out, hey, if you're predisposed to, problems, or if you have, some pre-existing conditions that might make you susceptible, you can stay home and no questions asked. And then Friday, it was, okay, everybody who wants to stay home can stay home. And then today, or not today, yesterday, Monday, they said, you're not allowed to come into the office anymore. Everyone's working from home. It is crazy how fast fast that happened. I don't know about y'all, Brandon.
So the Lindsay's 100% remote, and I work from home 5 or 4 days a week. And so they added one extra day for me, so it wasn't a horrible adjustment period, but when you think, and we don't have any kids, but when you have people that have never worked remote, and now you look at the fact that, schools have been canceled and stuff, you got people that have never worked remote with their kids at home. That's definitely going to be an adjustment period for a lot of people.
I definitely feel like I have a first world problem in working from home that I'm like, I get antsy. I have to walk around and stuff. But I know there's people who work from home all the time, and I don't have any kids either. So like, it's just me and the wife, and we just sort of stare at each other, whatever.
Yeah, it was pretty much business as usual. I said it on the show. I saw this on Facebook today. A husband and wife posted a thing about the husband was working upstairs, the wife was working downstairs, and the wife filed a complaint with HR about the asshole upstairs. So
That's actually very funny.
That's good. That's good. I might have to troll my HR. I said they're very good, but they got a sense of humor. I might have to troll them later because I have the exact situation. I'm doing work in the podcast studio here, and the wife is downstairs at the sort of office desk thing we have set up. So I might have to tell them, hey, there's this word that I'm not going to say. online
Yep.
downstairs. It's really causing me some issues.
Yep. Can we do something about that? That'd be great.
Yeah, no kidding. Sherwin, how are you making out?
Man, you know me, man. I'm just doing me. Still trying to find whatever's next. Hopefully it comes sooner than later.
Right on. So we mentioned it earlier. Sherwin, you sent this to me. You sent me the picture or whatever. It was mentioned earlier in the show. The coronavirus challenge. Now, y'all, I know this is a serious thing. Obviously, we're taking it serious because Sherwin's at home and we're all trying to do our social distancing thing. That might be the drinking word of the spring, by the way. Every time you're social distancing, it doesn't matter if it's 9 a.m. or at church or something. You better drink.
Yep.
But the coronavirus challenge, as I've seen. So now let's take the lighter side of this thing, y'all. This was some girl on an airplane, and she licked the damn toilet seat and called it coronavirus challenge. So, what
on the airplane?
On an airplane.
She licked the toilet seat on an airplane. How many dumps have taken place in that lavatory?
Cone, how many coronavirus challenges have you started this week?
Well, not that one. I had the replace movie title with coronavirus thing going last week, and it didn't take off as quickly as the Ebola one did back a few years ago, which probably is a good thing. The world is going. It is just a crazy place right now, and you see these people who want to have their moment of, ironically, viral glory, on the internet. You had these idiots last year, licking ice cream and putting it back in the freezer at the grocery store, and, it's all the outrage, but people are still watching, so of course they're going to, you can't ever not go to the next level. If you want to lick a toilet seat from an airplane, have at it. I am completely, that is your right. Just let me know if you are a airplane toilet seat licker so I can, adjust my social plan to avoid you at all costs, because I do not want to be anywhere near someone who wants to do that.
Right. Brandon, what's the deepest coronavirus challenge thus far that you've participated in?
I can't even nothing. And I guess that just comes with being 37 years old. I am A-okay with natural selection taking care of things a little bit, and have at it there. It's just that takes stupidity to just a whole new level that I can't fathom. And I the only thing I can think of is that just has to come with the fact that I grew up and I didn't have the internet for a portion of my life. And today's younger generation doesn't know that. And so they just have to find new things to do on the internet. And that's the only thing I can think of.
And Brandon, while we're on you here, I know you're a big WWE fan, and they had the whatever it was. I've only seen the clip of the whatever that 30-second clip was of. Now, y'all forgive me. I don't watch it. I don't hate on it, but it's not my thing. But it was something about some dude yelling, "If you're blah blah blah, say hell yeah!" And then they just pan to a completely empty stadium. I thought that was fantastic.
That's got to be Stone Cold, right?
So Stone Cold was on Monday Night Raw, and I'll be very brief because I don't want to bore everybody, but I was actually...
Too late.
WWE was actually supposed to be in Detroit on Friday night for their live show on Fox that I was supposed to go to, had tickets for. That got canceled, and they did it at their Performance Center, which is their training facility. Just because they had obligations and all that kind of stuff to keep things going. And so they did Friday and last night's Monday Night Raw without a live audience, which is weird. Part of wrestling is, if you're a fan of it, it's pandering to the crowd and crowd interaction, and you just didn't have that. So it was weird. And what's even bigger is is, us NASCAR fans, we've got the Daytona 500, you got the Super Bowl. Well, the equivalent for wrestling is WrestleMania, which was supposed to be in Tampa. And it was announced yesterday that they're actually not going to do they're going to do WrestleMania, the show of shows from the Performance Center. So they're not going to have any fans for WrestleMania, which is going to be really weird to see how they pull that off.
Yeah. Well, Stone Cold was supposed to be in Pittsburgh on Monday night, last night.
Yeah.
And he talked a little bit about that in his preview for his podcast, because he had actually recorded the podcast before, but he always does a pre and post, like intro, outro. And he talked about that, how, WrestleMania is going to be performed in front of nobody. And I thought, and Brandon, you maybe can confirm this, because I know you're a way bigger fan. I'm not a fan, but I mean, I pay a little bit of attention, but not a lot. The crowd wrestling might be the most important sport or entertainment sport
Sure.
to have a crowd for, because like whether it's booing or cheering, that's what the whole promo thing is supposed to be all about. Like, you either hate the guy that's wrestling or you love him. So you're either cheering or you're booing. And if those guys aren't there, I don't understand how these performers can have the amount of energy they need in order to put on a good match. Like, you can write the best match you've ever written on paper and go over it with your competitor, and they all know who's going to win before they get in there, for the most part. Sometimes they're up for grabs, but most part, they know who's going to win or who's getting over, as they call it. But I don't know how you do it without fans. It just seems weird. I wonder if it's WWE and the whole conglomerate trying to figure out if we take 7 weeks off, how much money are we going to lose? And we have this thing here in Orlando that we can use where we might only have 50 or 60 people there between competitors and the television crew. And they still do the thing. And it's like, I don't know that you're going to be able to keep that up for 2 months and for people to still care if they're not seeing this crowd just going bananas and having all their, posters and, just like it's game day for college football. Like, that's a big part of what college football is the game day pre-show is all those funny ass posters, and some of them are not okay, and some of them are really funny. And I just don't know how they're going to manage that process without just saying, hey, we're going to give it up for the same amount of time that the rest of the professional sports are going to give this up.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Crowd interaction is, like you said, it's pivotal, and I think it plays a bigger role because it's, the definition is wrestling is sports entertainment now, right? There's sports, there's athleticism involved behind it, but it's not a true sport in that, it is scripted. And like you said, you can script the best match possible in terms of the best moves and the shock and awe factor. But to have shock and awe, you need someone to react to that, and they just don't have that. So it's definitely going to be interesting. Friday and Monday, they replayed large portions of the last pay-per-view. That's only going to get you by so much before people turn it off. The one thing that wrestling can capitalize on right now is that they're one of the only live things going on. But when you don't have the whole element, which is the crowd and the fans playing a role, that's definitely going to impact things. And I'm curious to see, once WrestleMania is over, do they maybe just play some best ofs on USA and Fox until they can get back to that live crowd? February, March are big buildups for them, so they've already built things up. So they kind of almost have to go through with it. So I'm curious if once WrestleMania ends, if maybe they take their first ever off season, for however many weeks it is. But that's going to drive fan interest just to kind of see how they're able to make things work over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I think it would be in their best interest to go back to some of those really fantastic WrestleManias from the 80s and early 90s and show some of that stuff like Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. And that's the one that really sticks out in my mind because I've seen that Andre
Was
the
that
Giant.
the one at the? Was that the one at the Pontiac Silverdome?
You got it.
I think so. That's the one where
Yeah.
Andre called out to Hulk. He said, "Slam."
Yep.
And he's like,
Right.
"You want me to slam you?" Like they were like you could almost see the conversation happen during the match. And he's like, "All right, here we go."
Right.
And Hulk Hogan slammed
Yeah, I think-
Andre, and that was that. And that's like probably, arguably, the biggest moment in
Oh, that was
Right.
you know
that was
professional
the
wrestling
pinnacle
history.
of WWE.
I think that was at the Silverdome, and that, if I remember right, that was the biggest indoor attendance for any event in the country ever.
I believe
Yeah,
That's
that,
how
that
big
was,
professional wrestling is.
93,000.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because you had 75,000 seats, and then you had the
Yeah.
entire floor except for
Yeah.
The entire floor, right?
The ring.
It was crazy.
Now here I'll really bore you. So if you remember, they brought the wrestlers out on this ring that was pushed by a golf cart. And the reason why they did that was because they already had a long booked show. So to cut down on the time, that was to help reduce the entrance times for the wrestlers, that they put them on this golf cart that pushed a ring. Otherwise, for any given wrestler with their, swagger, if you will, it could have taken them 2 minutes, 3 minutes to walk to the ring. So they did that to cut down on time for the show.
Well,
Yeah,
gentlemen,
makes sense. Go ahead, Rusty.
yeah, it's well, I mean, we've been like 10 minutes on WWE. Let's talk some racing.
I'm
All
sorry.
right, baby.
No,
Let's do it.
it's fine. What else are we going to do for the next 2 months?
Right?
So it's all about. It seems to be virtual is a big thing right now, and I said we'd talk about racing, but interestingly, Dropkick Murphys, which is essentially like the band you pay attention to once a year on St. Patrick's Day. Sorry, I like him, but whatever. Yeah, they just did a virtual concert tonight, and I watched at least the first hour of it, and man, it was pretty darn good. I'm not gonna lie, they went all in. They weren't just singing into microphones. They were going bonkers. They had like a solo. They had a banjo and an accordion, and some guy just rocking his face off next to it. Like, it was pretty awesome. So, props to them, first off. But speaking in the NASCAR sense, in the racing sense, we had our we had our iRacing deal, the Replacements 100, this past weekend, I guess. Was it Sunday? Yeah, it was on Sunday. Fellas, did y'all see any of that? Cone, starting with you.
I didn't see it, but I followed along with a lot of the commentary, and from what I gather, and I'm not an iRacing guy. I don't have a computer set up here, and I've watched some of the highlight videos, but it's not quite my thing. But from what I gather, the people who watched it and the people who participated in it had a ton of fun, and that's really all that matters. And I think when we are talking about what we're going to do here for the next 2 months, I think NASCAR actually just announced today that they're going to have some sort of invitational series with numerous Cup drivers and Cup personalities. I think I saw Dale Jr. and Christopher Bell, and I think Kyle Larson's going to be in on this. And I actually think that's a great idea. It's a great way to keep people energized. It's a great way to have some fun, and you can go out there and you can race without such, I don't want to say high stakes, because I think these guys take it all very seriously, but you're not going to crash a bunch of cars and all that stuff. And I think it'll keep people energized in what is probably the strangest situation I think any of us have really ever encountered in our adult lives. It seems very reminiscent to me of post 9/11 America.
Mm-hmm.
That lasted a couple of weeks when we all were kind of in limbo and didn't really know what was going on, and everything was kind of shut down. It seems kind of like that, but it's very different. It's very strange. It's, everything is shut down, and we don't really know when we're going to get back up and running. But I got to tell you, just from from what limited perspective I have access to, and without spilling the beans on anything, I think it's going to be an absolutely insanely crazy summer once we get back racing. I think the people who have been clamoring for these big changes to the schedule, we didn't plan on it, but we're going to have it, and it's going to be really fun. I think we're going to see pretty much constant racing, which is I think a lot of what a lot of us have always wanted. So
yeah,
we just got to get there. It's going to be a tough couple of months, as we kind of wait this thing out. But I think once we get back up and running, which is what everybody wants, there was a single racing sanctioning body from NASCAR to ARCA to IndyCar to NHRA, World of Outlaws. No one wants to postpone races ever for any reason. And to do it for this, it's tough, it's crazy, it's horrible. But I think once we get back up and running, I think people are actually going to really like their summer and their fall, because there's going to be a lot of racing. Be a lot of racing happening in a very short period of time. NASCAR has said we don't want to postpone, we don't want to cancel any races. We want we have 36 races on our schedule. Our intention is to have 36 races. I know, my boss is at ARCA. We've got 20 races on our ARCA Menard Series schedule. We're going to have 20 races. That's not counting East and West, which we still are going to have, 8 and 11 respectively. There's only so many weekends, so do the math. How are you going to do it?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I think you can figure that out.
I think
it's going to be fun. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think we're finally going to get weekend primetime races that people have been talking about. Why don't we try this out? A Tuesday night or a Wednesday night or a Monday night or whatever it is.
Yep.
So that we can get all these races squeezed in, because we just lost what we think now is 7 weeks of Cup racing.
Right. And I will preface everything that we just talked about there with, I do not have any inside information on this. I'm just looking at the amount of races that have been postponed versus the amount of available weekends that we have left.
Well, Cone,
right.
Cone, you're our insider guy, man. You got to give us that scoop.
I wish I could.
Yeah.
They don't let me come into those. They don't let me come into those meetings, guys.
One of the things that I was thinking of is, NASCAR obviously takes a ton of flack from the fans in terms of what every fan thinks they should or shouldn't do. But I think we're in a unique position here to where the fans just want to get back to racing and they don't care how. And so here's an opportunity to where NASCAR can run a Monday night race or a Wednesday night race. All of these things that we keep talking about, and NASCAR's in the position to where, hey, this is where we can throw something at the wall that isn't planned, see what sticks, and then build that in going forward without any maybe backlash, so to speak, from a fan perspective.
Yes, we've been talking about they need to experiment.
100% drink.
Yeah. We've been talking about they need to experiment with some of these races, and now they are almost forced into that hand. And so we finally get to see, we've been talking about what if forever on this stuff, and now the if has become the when. And I'm excited about that amidst all the mess.
That's
everything comes with that. Go ahead.
I have been looking forward to a doubleheader weekend for 10 years, and we have one scheduled this year. And I think that's great. And, but that's been planned, and I think that's the interesting thing, guys. And I think a lot of people don't, because, you're not on the inside, I don't have any idea what it takes to put on a WrestleMania show. Brandon's got a little more insight on that than I do. I think the people on the outside don't understand how hard it is to put together a 36-week racing schedule. So many things are a part of that, from the race team logistics to television to, weather, time of year. You don't want to have too many races in the same market, area, region, back to back to back. There's so many things that go into it. It literally takes a year to get that schedule put together. And we're going to redo this in 8 weeks. We're going to literally have to rebuild that entire schedule in 8 weeks. I'm really excited to see how this comes out. Look, I'm not downplaying the severity of this situation one bit. I mean, this is no fun. I think I mean, my girlfriend's got a compromised immune system. I'm worried about her every day. It's a big deal, and we have to take it serious. But once we get past this, I am absolutely energized by what I think is going to happen the rest of this year. I think it's going to be great. We just got to get there.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. I feel like we're having, or that we have to preface almost all of the either excitement or whatever else we have with, hey, we understand the gravity of the situation. But you know what? This is the PTM podcast. This is where we get to leave that at the front door, and let's talk about what we're excited about. I'll tell you what, I did watch the last 50 laps of the Replacements 100. Y'all, I liked it, and I liked it a lot. I don't know what to say. Maybe it was just because me and Sherwin sat here last Tuesday, so a week ago, talking about going to the Atlanta race, and we go to the Atlanta race as media. We go to Talladega as fans, and both of those are now off, postponed till question mark or whatever. But we are so I had to get my fix. But I actually really enjoyed watching that and seeing the production that they have. First off, I didn't know that they had that great of a production of it, with announcers, with tickers and all the other stuff. I mean, this looked like a Fox Sports production, and I also didn't realize how good it actually looks now. Like iRacing, I sent a picture to my dad because I was talking with him on the phone, and I said, "Let me send you a picture of this, because if I take a still shot picture of my TV right now, you will not be able to tell that this is not reality." So it was pretty interesting. So I think this is a good opportunity.
It is.
And not just a good opportunity, but uniquely NASCAR, uniquely racing opportunity to capitalize on this downtime. And you can't do this in any other sport. I mean, I guess you get some NBA guys playing NBA Live or get some NFL guys playing Madden, but this is almost a different skill set in that it translates at least a little bit. Me and Sherwin disagree a little bit on this, so I understand, Sherwin. but it at least translates a bit in that driving skill on these sims is there's some some translation to actual driving, and it's really cool to see these guys do that. And like I said, I think there's a unique situation here where we can do this iRacing stuff. I'll shut up.
Yeah, stop talking, host of the show. Jeez.
Right? What the hell?
I think it's great. I think it does keep people energized. Like I said, it's not necessarily my thing. My son is very much into it. And that's who you need to reach out to. You need to be getting the 10, 11, 12-year-old kids excited about this kind of stuff, because they're the ones going to be buying tickets in 5 or 6 years.
That's
so if my kid's excited about it, he's going to want to keep coming, and I know he's definitely excited about the iRacing stuff.
I think you just threw the Queen of Spades on that one. What gets the people excited who are going to be buying actual tickets come a few years from now? I think this is a unique opportunity for NASCAR. Shoot, you got to capitalize on the opportunities when they come like this too. And I feel like NASCAR has an opportunity. I'll tell you what, my work right now, we're trying to hire some people. And I talked to a recruiter today he said, "Are y'all willing to look at candidates right now while all this is going on?" I said, "Yeah, why not? We'll do it remotely or whatever." And he said, "Dude, you are in a unique position to get some really strong talent right now, because everybody else has put stuff on hold." And so in the same light, let's everybody else has put sports on hold. Let's see what we can do with NASCAR. Let's do something different. Let's do something special. Sherwin, what do you think? You've been silent. Talk to me.
Well, so I'm opening my mind to this whole thing. I know I've been that belligerent old man, the get off my lawn guy about, calling it a video game, but if it works, and if it works the way that helps NASCAR, I'm all for it. it gives opportunity to people, especially younger people, to get to soak up some NASCAR and maybe encourage their dad to go buy a ticket when the sport is in their market,
Mm-hmm.
to go see a race firsthand. There's no way that I could talk badly about that. So do it up, folks. I'm not sure how much I'll watch, but if it helps, it helps.
I thought it was really cool. And I don't know that anybody else was doing this, but the NASCAR community and the NASCAR drivers were doing these digital autographs. Like, I mean, hey, we're bored too. Let's do something. I thought that was really cool. Now, me and Sherwin have talked about on the show before where, autographs don't mean a whole lot to me necessarily, but that interaction does. Knowing that someone has acknowledged you, that you do get to talk to them. I mean, hell, that's why we started this podcast and why we continue to do it. We get to talk to great people like Brandon Crowd and the Orange Cone tonight on the show. But I thought that was really cool and a creative gesture, again, where NASCAR is uniquely positioned to have these folks being able to do that. Cone, what do you think about the digital autograph stuff?
So I saw that going around the other night, and I actually think that's really cool. I have a couple of autographs from back in the day that mean a lot to me, and that's really cool. But as technology has changed, I much more would rather have a photograph, particularly of my children, with somebody. And now that you can take that photograph on your phone and then send it to somebody and say, hey, by the way, can you just give me your digital autograph on this? That'd be great. I think it's fantastic. There's so many of our drivers who have really taken to social media, the younger kids in particular. Sam Mayer is one that jumps out to me. Sam, I think, is fantastic on social media. Ty Gibbs, another one. Both of these kids, 16 years old, 17 years old. They do a great job with it. They engage with their fans. They stick up for themselves when they need to, and they make people happy. And when you send a driver, hey, here's this picture I took of you at Martinsville. Can you sign it for me? Yeah, I can. That's great. I think it's wonderful. I may have to dig out some of those pictures of my children with some of these guys and say, hey, can you scribble your name on that? Because that is pretty cool. I'm happy they're doing it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's a great way to use social media.
Yeah, totally agree. Brandon, have you sent
this is what social media should be. This is what social media should be about.
Absolutely.
Not arguing and bickering over stupid bullshit. It should be about people reaching out and sharing what they have in common and, making people happy. I think that's what, so many of the people that I started with, NASCAR Chasm and the NASCAR Wonkas and those guys. We just like to make ourselves laugh and make other people laugh. And, you just get to this point where there's so much negativity going around and it's hard to, sometimes you just don't even want to open those apps up. And then you see something like that going around. Hey, can you sign this picture? It kind of restores your faith in how this deal is supposed to work every now and then.
I love the way you put that because, and it's a criticism that's well-deserved with me, is that I avoid social media when I just see negativity and everything, and I'm like, why do I want to jump into that, or why do I want to talk about that? Why do I want to be a part of this thing? And I'll tell you, I've been on Twitter / Facebook and other things more in the last week than I have been in the last year, probably. Looking around and chatting with people and stuff. So, yeah, exactly. It's a great point right there. Brandon, where are you at on this? You've been silent.
Well, everybody knows I got a pretty large NASCAR memorabilia collection.
Real quick, Brandon, let me pause you. Let me pause you.
Huh?
Can you pan up about 8 inches?
Ooh. Sorry.
There it is.
How's that?
Now we've got face.
All right, sorry.
There we go.
It's I think it's fantastic. I like you guys just said, anything that brings more positivity than negativity to social media, I'm all about. And if you can make somebody, and that's the hard thing. It's like, somebody could sign a digital autograph and that makes that person happy. And some people are happy for that person, but then you're going to get 100 people. Oh, why didn't you sign? Everybody's got to just kind of keep things into perspective. Like, not everybody's got 100 hours to just sign digital autographs, but it's great for those that select that random one that they do sign that for. If it's a young kid, whatever it is, and that's, like you said, we lose so much faith in humanity sometimes, and those are the things that dial it back in and restore faith. And that's I think the big takeaway in all this is, let's take a step back, realize what's important with all of it.
So we talked about it a little bit before, and I want to get down to some actual specifics, thoughts, roundtable here. I'll start with Sherwin. I'll start with you. We have potentially, at least, I shouldn't say potentially, we have at least 7 races to redo, rejigger around. Possibly, let's say it's even up to 10. What are you going to do as president of NASCAR, Sherwin, to move those back into the schedule and get them done before, what is it, September? I mean, we might not be even ready to start until early May. But what are you going to do, Sherwin?
Well, since all of these races are going to be Fox properties in terms of broadcasting, and we got 2 free weeks, the ones that NBC had already planned to take off for the Olympics. So we get 2 free full weekends that they can run, their full schedule. Atlanta, or I think Texas does all 3 series. I think the struggle is going to be with the tracks that are losing races that don't have lights, and trying to fit those in places that are going to have to run during the daytime. Those are the things that are going to be problematic. And I don't have the list in my head right now. Obviously, Talladega, they cannot run at night. Talladega has to run during the day. Mm-hmm. Now, Atlanta can run at night, which means maybe Talladega gets pushed to one of those late July, early August weekends, because they can run those during the day on a weekend. I think what they'll have to try to figure out is, how much do we care about how many people show up? There's only so much, now that school starts here the first week of August for the little kids. And so, like, going to a Wednesday race during those times, if you don't live close to the racetrack, that ain't going to work out. What do we do with the All-Star race? Are we still going to run it? Who knows? I mean, that is outside the window of what they've said they're going to postpone, because they said they want to run at Martinsville, which is May 3rd, or the weekend after May 3rd, and they already planned for that to be a night race, I think, or they can plan for it to be a night race because they have lights now. I think those are the logistics that we have to look at, is where can we put these races, because I think we're going to have weekday races at some point in order to get caught up to the playoffs, because they just don't build very many off weekends into the schedule. So there's going to have to be double weeks. Like, we're going to have 2 NASCAR, big time races that happen in the same week. How do we do that with the travel? Like, do we pair, I don't even know. I can't, do we pair Dover and Pocono? Do we pair, Dover, Pocono is already a double race.
Right.
Do we pair Dover and Martinsville, because those tracks are in relative proximity to each other? What do we do with that? I don't know. Bristol and Martinsville, maybe? That might be a good, both places have lights, so they could work something out there. Maybe. It's going to be very challenging for them to figure this out. And if their plan is we're going to run all 36 races, which technically at this point it's 30 more races, 33 more races plus the All-Star race if they don't cancel it. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. I think we're going to see a primetime race on a weekday that's not scheduled that way because rain postponed it.
So Cone, president of NASCAR Cone, what are you going to do to make?
Don't get me fired. Don't get me fired, you guys.
Well, you know us. We're always trying to
Right.
poke that
Right.
poke that bull on this one. What are you going to do
Right.
to get all 26 races in by what is it, September that we start playoffs?
Yeah. So I think that's the key to this is, and again, I say this as race fans, not someone with inside information, because I have none. But the playoffs, I think, are relatively immobile. I don't want to say that there's no scenario in which they couldn't jigger those around too. But I think that they would really like to keep those 10 races in those 10 weeks. So you're going to have to squeeze in a lot of racing in those weeks leading up to it. I have to tell you, I just, as a fan who watched these two races play out live when they did, the two Daytona 500s that were run on a Monday night, which was 2012 and 2020.
Yeah,
those to me were absolute magic. I loved it. I loved the fact that it was on a Monday night. I loved that it was, Daytona at night. Everything about it to me was just magical. If you could recapture that in some way, which I think you can at other places, on a whether it's a Tuesday or Wednesday night, and that could give you time to get to, if I'm just going to throw two racetracks out again. This has there's no connection to reality. It's just two random racetracks because they're nearby. Say you go to Dover on a Wednesday and you have some temporary lights put up that you run that race at, on a Wednesday night, and you head on over to Pocono for the second race of the weekend, on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think you have to try to do it, so I think the statement that NASCAR has put out, that they're committed to running all 36 races, and they are already hard at work. I mean, that is, like I said earlier, it's energized me. I really think that there's going to be everyone wanted a shakeup of the schedule, and that's what we're going to have here. And and I said this on Twitter the other day. When we were going through the process of canceling or not canceling, take that back, postponing the Atlanta and Homestead weekends. Everyone is in a real tough situation right now. Do we stay open? Do we close? There are no right answers. There's only a wide variety of wrong answers at this point, and you're just trying to figure out the one which is the least bit wrong at this point. And it's everyone's in the same boat. Whether it's NASCAR or the NBA, the NHL, MLB, whether it's your local school district, whether it's your local grocery store, restaurants, everyone is just trying to figure out what the least worst option is, because there are no good options. Because the first option was to do everything as originally planned, and that can't happen. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how this all comes together. And I know from what limited information I have seen, there are literally dozens of people from every corner of the industry trying to put this together the best that they can. And the unfortunate part of it is, and somebody said this earlier, it's not going to make everybody happy. There are going to be some races that are run, and all of the people who bought tickets aren't going to be able to make it. Yeah. And that's horrible. I mean, that is literally the worst possible outcome of this, is that someone who's planned for an entire year to take their entire family to come and enjoy a weekend at the racetrack can't do it because some act of nature has prevented it. So we're just trying to figure out a way to make it so that the most amount of people have access to come to see these events, whether it's on television or in person. I'm looking forward to it, guys. I'm 47 years old. I hate to admit that. Um, I've seen a lot. I've seen some really, really unfortunate things happen. And to me, this isn't. While it's bad, don't get me wrong. This is not the worst thing that's ever happened. I will get through this. It's like hitting the pause button on life. We're just going to hit the pause button for a little bit, and we'll get to hopefully May 1st or May 3rd or whatever the date was, and we'll hit the play button on the DVR and resume where we were and pick up with things and get rocking and rolling. But I'm just looking forward to seeing what the result of all of this is, because I think we are going to have access to some midweek racing. Might not be cup races, might be trucks, might be Xfinity. Who knows? Might be a cup race. Who knows? I'm looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. We've like we were saying earlier, we've always wanted to see what would happen if we did this. Well, I think we're going to find out pretty darn quick. So should be fun.
President Brandon, what are you going to do?
So I'll offer two quick things. Number one, Cone hit on it a little bit here as from a fan perspective. There are fans that have, planned. They've taken time off. They've invested their hard-earned money to go to a race that was planned over the next 7 to 8 weeks that they're not going to be able to. Whatever NASCAR can do to give back to the fans that are going to be impacted over these next 7, 8 races, NASCAR needs to do. And I know that they're going to. I do believe that they will do that. On the flip side of things, we talk about networks. We talk about trying to cram these in so that, like you guys said, we can start the playoffs and run those 10 weeks like we're supposed to run them. And, we got the Pocono Double. There are tracks before the playoffs that we hit twice. And I'm going to use Michigan as that example. We can go there in June. We go there in August. We go there once with Fox. We go there once with the NBC side of things. Why can't both crews be at the track? Michigan's big enough, run the doubleheader for Michigan in June, and that frees up a weekend in August to make up a race that we only go to once, like Atlanta, for example, that frees things up from a logistics standpoint. And that's something that I think NASCAR needs to look at. How can you take advantage of the tracks that we go to twice before the playoffs?
I love what you're saying in terms of everything right now is on the negotiation table. We can't do this because Fox says that. Well, you can do anything you want. Well, what in the world situation are we in? You get to do whatever. So, as far as I'm concerned, what do we do with the All-Star race? Make it virtual. Do it on iRacing. Pay it $1 million. See what happens. That's going to get some viewership and whatnot. I'm just throwing crazy crap out there. Just be wild. Do something different. I don't know. I'm always part of that. But, I agree with everybody. Looking forward to what's happening. Double headers.
So I saw something on Twitter today that really intrigued me. And it kind of part and parcels some of the things that Brett Griffin has said about how we should manage the All-Star race, and then it combined it with, okay, well, why don't we run the All-Star race on the night before the Charlotte race in the fall and run it on the road?
Yeah.
Let's combine it with, okay, so everybody that made the playoffs in the 3 series, they all get to run. So you'll get 16 cars from Cup, you get 12 cars from Xfinity, you get 8 trucks. And they run a series on the oval, just like we do with IMSA at almost every track that they go to. They have, 3, sometimes 4 different series. Like, I think that would be a really cool event to attend as a fan. It would be really fun to watch at home on the couch.
Right
You're
on.
already going to be in Charlotte anyway.
I'm down for it.
Yeah, and that's what I mean.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Everything is on the table now. Take advantage of that. Don't make them say no. Make somebody else say no. Go in there and hey, this is what we want to do. and get buy-in and everything. I love it. Let's do something crazy, y'all. It has been an hour. It has been an absolute blast talking with everybody. We need to shut this thing down. Brandon, let's start with you. Where can the folks find you? What's going on?
Oh, you can follow on Twitter at LapTrafficPC. Had an awesome show tonight. 6 different listeners called in. Switch things up a little bit with a full listener call-in show tonight. So definitely go check that out.
That's right. Cone, tell us what's happening.
Well, you can always follow me at the Orange Cone. We're talking about the first car you ever paid for with your own money tonight is lighting up my Twitter stream. So, we're gonna try to keep some racing content floating around from time to time on the old Orange Cone Twitter stream. But you can also follow us at @ARCA_racing. We want to keep you informed with what's going on there as well.
Well, you know what? We need to go deep into that at some point soon. I am currently driving the first car that I paid for, but that's because
Really?
I bought
What
it
you got?
15 years ago, and the one before
Really?
that was a 16th birthday present. So
Nice.
yeah,
So you've had a car. You've had the same car for 16 years.
yes, I have.
What kind of car is it?
It's
What is
a 2003 Dodge Ram.
Nice. Those are good trucks, man.
Hey, I'm loving every second of it, and it will be
How
at the
many
Atlanta race.
How many miles you got on it?
You know what? I don't drive all that much. I've got 115,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow, man.
Almost
So
nothing.
I've had 3 vehicles in the last 21 years. And that's includes the one that I traded in 21 years ago. So I've had 2 cars in the last 20 years. The minivan that I had last summer, I blew the engine in.
Shaggin' wagon, nice.
Right, the shaggin' wagon blew the engine on my way out to Chicago to work the ARCA race out there and to see the old girlfriend. Went and bought a replacement minivan that day. I had 36,000 miles on it when I bought it. Now has 62,000 miles on it, and I bought it in June. So I'm doing all the driving for you there, Rusty. Oh,
Yeah.
Holy cow.
No kidding. Sherwin, I think you've put probably fewer miles than I have in the last, I would say, 5-6 years at least.
Yeah, so I got some help from my parents. They had always promised me they would help me with my first car, which is a 2004 Mustang 40th anniversary V6, 5 on the floor, and I've put 154,000 miles on it, but 26,000 of them came before I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, there's something to be said about not having had to pay a dime on a monthly basis, at least for a car in a decade. I'm all about keeping it for as long as possible. That said, y'all,
Yeah, man.
this has been a blast. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out, joining us. And you know what? We're going to do it again next week. I'm going to start shutting this thing down with, with Sydney Lett. Might as well bring her on. Here she comes. Y'all, what can I say? Hang out with us. Come see us.
Thank you very much, guys.
Woo! That's right. As always, y'all know what the deal is. PTMpodcast.com, at PTM Podcast. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace, at Tailgate Mayor on the Twitter handle. Sherwin is Pregame Engineer, at Pregame Engineer. PTM Podcast on Instagram, everything else. We're going to be around, as is everybody else. So come hang out with us. Have some fun. And we'll talk to y'all, of course, next week. Who knows what the guests will be, but we're going to have some fun. Make the best out of the situation. Can't wait to talk to y'all next week. See you soon. Gentlemen, that's a wrap.
Yes, sir. All right.
It's
Nicely
weird.
done.
I could hear the close, but I couldn't hear the intro.
That's funny. Very interesting. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard the close too. Same thing. I didn't hear any of the intro, but I did hear the close.
If I knew how that worked, I would do differently.
It's all good.
Yeah.
You know, we did a whole hour, and the state of Utah didn't even come up once.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah, but we talked about licking toilet seats, so that's probably good.
We did. That's enough.
That's the 2020 version of the Utah standoff.
Did I ever? Are we still on YouTube?
We are on YouTube.
Yes.
Oh, then I can't tell the story. Sorry.
Well,
All
ladies
right,
and
shut up
gentlemen,
YouTube
sorry,
and let's
people.
hear the story.
Sorry, people. Sorry. People.
ladies and gentlemen, it has been an absolute
Yeah.
pleasure talking to you. We will see y'all next week. Be sure to come and join the PTM podcast. We'll be live on YouTube. Who knows what the guests will be? I don't know. Sherman doesn't know. We'll figure it out, though. Talk to y'all later.
We ain't taking any breaks.
And come see us at one of the races live, and we'll tell you what Orange Cone's story is. See y'all later.